Sorry. And I promised, or they're not here just as well, because I promised someone that we'd always turn our microphones on, so just as well they're not here. Council acknowledges the traditional owners of these lands, waters and skies, the Wadawurrung people. We acknowledge and respect their continuing connections to their lands, waters, skies, culture, and the contribution they make to the life and spirit of our community. We pay respect to their past and present elders and extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people. This evening we have all councillors present, all officers present. Thank you very much. So there's no apologies. Conflict of interest disclosures. I'd like to announce that I have a conflict of interest for item 13.3, a professional association. Is there anybody else who has a conflict of interest? Officers, councillors? Thank you very much. Leave of absence of councillors, we don't have any. We move to item 5 on our agenda, public question time. We have no public questions outstanding. This evening, 5.2, we do have 5 public questions. And we'll start with the first question from James Rush. Is James present? I will read the question. The topic is adequate public toilets for the 2025 Hot Rodders event in the first week of February 2025. Preamble is the Hot Rodders event is a great money spinner for local businesses. The last 2 years have seen inadequate public toilets in Hesse Street, leading to patrons urinating in public places and/or relying on businesses allowing persons to use their toilets. Will the public toilets be made available for public access between the hours of 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday through to Sunday on the Hot Rodders weekend? The office workers could be rostered on to ensure patrons have use of the toilets only. There is a big sign, toilets, pointing to the hub.
I'm happy to take that through you, Mayor. Yes, we do intend to open the toilets in the Queenscliff hub during the event, and we will be staffing that.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Public question number 2 is from Dean Hurlston of Council Watch. I'm assuming Mr. Hurlston's not present. His question is, what is the approximate cost per public council meeting for councillor and staff, meals, refreshments and beverages, if applicable? Can I ask you to respond, please?
Yes, and thank you, Mayor, and through you. Council provides a working dinner for staff and councillors at each ordinary meeting of Council. There's generally 11 to 14 people at the working dinner. For the 11 council meetings held in 2024-25 financial year, the average cost was $413 per meeting. No beverages are provided and all catering is sourced from local businesses.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Public question 3 is from Lucille Colombo. Lucille, would you like to ask the question?
I would like to address this question to Councillor Grigau. During the voting week of the recent council elections, a flyer was distributed to voters in the borough of Queenscliff, attempting to influence voters in favour of Donny Grigau, accusing council of mismanagement of council funds and implying that council was in crisis. The flyer made unfounded accusations as well as conclusions based on incorrect understanding of statistical data, all the while highlighting Mr. Grigau, with crosses next to other council members and a tick next to Mr. Grigau's name, painting him in a favourable light. This flyer was a direct attempt to affect the outcome of the recent council election. My question is this. Mr. Grigau, were you in contact with Mr. Dean Hurlston from Council Watch prior to this flyer being produced? And are you willing to disclose what knowledge you have of the flyer and what part you played in the production of this piece of propaganda and manipulative disinformation?
Thank you. Could I call on Councillor Grigau to answer, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm more than willing to publicly address the question posed. However, under the governance rules, I draw the attention to the following. Section 6, the chairperson or chief executive officer may disallow any question that B, is defamatory, indecent, offensive, abusive, irrelevant, trivial, or objectionable in language or nature. E, is aimed at embarrassing a councillor or a member of council staff. J, relates to any matter that council believes would prejudice the council or any individual. The question in question clearly meets these criteria and should have been disallowed at the onset. There is a substantial duty to maintain a safe workplace for everyone here to ensure an environment free from harassment, vilification, and potential defamation. For the record, I regard the tabling of this question as containing defamatory imputations and have referred the matter to my legal counsel. Accordingly, I reserve all my rights against all those here tonight and those who are watching over the streaming service. I also anticipate Council Watch Inc. will seek legal advice regarding the defamatory implication of this question. I respectfully caution all present and observing that further commentary on this matter could result in legal action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grigau. Sorry, we don't have a second question.
This is the first question. Which he said he will address, but firstly. Okay, so he's done the first one, and so now he needs to answer my question. As it is not struck from the record, and it is still current and convincing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Grigau, is there anything you'd like to add?
Are we going to enforce the governance rules of this council or not? So, no, we
won't discuss
if that's the case, I feel that there's the continuation of this not protecting councillors, and ensuring that there's a safe workplace in this council. This comes down to I'm not taking any of this abuse. I'm walking out. I'm not returning to this council until I'm guaranteed I have a safe workplace.
No calling out, please. We move on to public question 4 from Joan Kingsley. Is Joan here this evening? Joan's question was, Dear Mayor and councillors, as we now have a new team of locals representing us, can I ask, will you be reinstating Australia Day festivities on January 26th? Does Council believe we're one nation under our current Australian flag? And 3, will Council conduct citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day, the 26th of January? And I will respond, and that is to advise that we are only allowed one question, and 99.1 in our governance rules gives us that. A maximum of one question will be accepted by any one person. And I will answer the third of those 3 questions, and that is, if Council receives a request to conduct a citizenship ceremony on the 26th of January, it will certainly facilitate this request. And I advise that the other two questions will be taken on notice in accordance with the governance rules I've referred you to. Public question 5 is from David Connolly. David, do you wish to read it or would you like me to? Okay, thanks. When did all councillors receive a council briefing or information session specifically related to the DEL, the distinctive areas of landscape, in order for councillors to undertake an informed decision with the necessary due diligence with regard to the objectives and strategies of this important state planning policy document that acknowledges the Ballerine and Queenscliff as an area of special and distinctive significance? And I'd call on the CEO for a response.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, thank you for your question, David. The previous council was briefed on numerous occasions in the lead up to the council decision at the ordinary meeting held on the 23rd of November 2022 to endorse the final draft of the Ballerine Peninsula Statement of Planning Policy. The briefings were conducted by officers from the Department of Planning who are leading the project and by Council's strategic planner. I do note, as part of the formal induction process, the current council has been provided a briefing on planning, which included advice about the function and operation of the policy statement, which has not yet been incorporated into the planning scheme.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Further question?
In terms of the briefing, the question was a QCA question, not directly from me, so this is a QCA question.
In response to the QCA question.
Yeah. So who would have undertaken the briefing? Was that through the planning department or did anyone see the document?
So as I mentioned in my response, the briefings were conducted by officers of the Department of Planning and Council's strategic planner.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, just before we close, Council did receive 3 other questions regarding 6 McDonald and the report that's in the Council agenda tonight. I've written to all those people who have submitted questions just to let them know that our guidelines on public question time don't allow us to respond to questions about statutory planning matters in public question time. So that's why those questions haven't been read out.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Move on to agenda item number 6, the confirmation of the previous meeting's minutes at an ordinary council on the 27th of November. The recommendation is that the minutes of that meeting, as distributed, be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Monaghan. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. A copy of the minutes from the special council meeting of the 25th of November have been distributed, and I'm asking that they be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a mover for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Monaghan. 6.3, we need to appoint a sub-representative or a proxy to the Municipal Association of Victoria and the Geelong Regional Corporation Board. The recommendation is that we appoint a councillor as the sub-rep for the Library Board for a 2-year appointment. And do I have a mover?
Can I move a dual motion, I suppose?
Thank you.
To appoint Councillor Monaghan as the sub-delegate to the MAV and Councillor Cameron to the sub-delegate as the sub-delegate to the GRLC for the 2-year period prescribed.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. We have a record of informal meetings of councillors, and as you can see, there was one held on the 27th of November and another on the 4th of December, both of which were councillor assembly briefings. The recommendation is that the record of informal meetings of councillors as presented in adjunct to item 7 be noted. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Monaghan. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Moving on to item 8, notice of motion. The notice of motion status update is that there are no notices of motion outstanding. 8.2 is a motion on notice, number 2024/593, preparing our borough for summer and a productive 2025. Can I just take the liberty of reminding everyone that at our special meeting on the 25th of November, we reflected that a new group of councillors has been elected and sworn in, and though as candidates there were different pitches and promises, there were also, we found when we got together, many shared aspirations for the well-being of our community. And the following motion reflects those common objectives and aims to signal to our community, the residents, the ratepayers and visitors, our commitment to listening and to action. Consequently, as Mayor, I move the motion that Council, 1, note the commitment made by the new councillors to work hard to increase trust in our local government and employ a collaborative spirit in serving our community. 2, request the CEO to provide a briefing in December 2024 on the costs and administration of extra maintenance at several prominent and highly visited sites across the borough, such as entrances to each town, particularly over the summer period between December this year and February 2025. 3, note the ongoing public communication about the status and remediation of damaged beach infrastructure at sites including Point Lonsdale Back Beach, the Springs or Phipps's Beach, the Dog Beach and the Ripview Car Park Stairs. 4, receive a briefing in January on the costs associated with trialling temporary toilet facilities at Lock Street and the Dog Beach Car Park, possibly between mid-February to late April, in response to community advocacy. The aim of this trial would be to collect data to inform decisions around a possible permanent facility. 5, consider the suitability of compostable toilets at these and other sites within the borough. 6, review the current signage directing people to existing facilities, particularly toilets. 7, promote the National Public Toilet Map app to help people find existing facilities. 8, invite local organisations by email to contribute relevant events to the Borough of Queenscliff events calendar and actively promote those events during December and January. 9, request the CEO to provide a report on the costs, if any, of allocating resources to undertake the following. Resume the Bellarine Times column to disseminate current information and events from the Borough of Queenscliff. Contact all residents and ratepayers by post and email in February 2025, asking them to decide how they would like to receive future regular communications. Residents will be asked to consider the cost to the borough before indicating their preference for future email or postal communication. The aim of this exercise is to increase the borough's email subscriber base and reduce future print and postal costs, while keeping residents up to date with what council is doing and how they can be involved. Commence work to develop a network of local organisations who can assist in sharing key communications and consultations. Explore consolidation of existing e-newsletters to streamline communications with a summary of this exploration to be briefed to the councillors in March 2025. 10, note councillors will receive a briefing before the end of the year on council's kindergarten infrastructure and services plan in response to community inquiries to ensure local services supporting families in the Borough of Queenscliff in line with State Education Department requirements. 11, requests the CEO prepare a schedule of meetings to be held with community organisations for councillors' review to strengthen connection and collaboration with the local community, with priority given to groups who bring tourists to town and/or who have an existing strategic relationship with council. These meetings will commence in January 2025 and will give groups the opportunity to present at regular council briefings on the second Wednesday of each month. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst.
I'd like to speak to the motion, thank you. As you can hear, this is a big motion, but it is about, as the Mayor said, taking what's common and working to prepare ourselves for the big strategic item that comes next, which is the development of the council plan in consultation with the community. It's about implementing action early, showing we're a committed group, though diverse in opinions and political perspectives, and community leaders of our word. Many of the items seek briefings and costings. This is about understanding the financial limitations of the borough while wanting to balance it with optimum service delivery and improved town amenity. In the case of public toilets, it's about responding to persisting advocacy on this issue while exploring other opportunities to connect people to facilities in our two towns. The motion is about continuing to elevate, streamline and improve communication with the community in response to declining results in this area in the 2024 Customer Satisfaction Survey, and understanding that there's many reasons for this, but using the resources we've got at hand, the really strong resources to deliver this effectively. It's about connecting with people, with organisations, with community leaders, traders and businesses to strengthen the bond between council and community and set a tone of collaboration and comprehension about how we can support you and how we intend to work together for the next 4 years. Community organisations are the pulse of this town, and in a tourist-based economy, they're essential for financial sustainability, and I want to be a part of a council that continues to support the business community and orgs to the best of our ability. The item on Kinder is both a personal one and also one that has emerged from persisting community advocacy, but I hope it recognises both how essential accessible local child education services are, but also that there is a growing demand and a growing amount of young people choosing to live in the borough, which is something to celebrate. And that's this is about understanding the intersecting systems at play and the varied stakeholders in terms of child education in our location, and how we again establish strong relationships for the best outcome for people who live here. Overall, the motion has been put together to speak to work already underway, and I thank the CEO and the staff for jumping right in to support this group who were evidently eager to hit the ground running and about setting a tone for how we want to continue working. It's about acknowledging areas for improvement and making a visible commitment to continuous improvement, which is a prescription under the Local Government Act, and making a commitment to do this collaboratively as a council group. So, of course, I support the motion and I thank the Mayor for presenting it on behalf of all councillors tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to say thank all this together, and I think it's been a really good feeling so far that we're all on the same page. And obviously, we're going to disagree on certain things at times, but we've made a commitment that we're all willing to work together. So, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I would like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 9. No petitions and joint letters have been received. Moving on to functions attended. Agenda item 10. The functions attended are there listed. Could I have a mover? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move the list or accept the list as presented, but with 2 of the following changes. And that is that I also attended the Queenscliff Music Festival on November 23rd, but also the period 2022 to 24 is sufficient. and I attended the Climate Emergency Australia Executive Meeting on December the 2nd. And Jackie, I can pop those in an email for you.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. All those in favour? Unanimously passed. Thank you. Agenda item 11.1 is the Chief Executive Officer report for December 2024. Thank you, CEO. All right then. The recommendation that Council receives the CEO's report for December 2024. Mover, thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Monahan. Is there any discussion? No. All those, yes,
Quick one.
Councillor
Great
Tolhurst.
news about the funds from the Dog Beach fence being able to be diverted for the ramp. So thank you for the advocacy and ongoing discussions about that matter. Do we have any indication of timing for when that work can commence?
Through you, Mayor, and apologies for not being on the ball.
No, it was me.
We previously talked about a date in March as a date we think that we'll be in a position to get things moving on there. I don't think I'd bring that forward given that just the time of the year and there's other things going forward. So, yeah.
And I'd just like to add how quickly our notice of motion's been actioned, because we do already have an expression of interest process underway for the Ritview car park stairs. The back beach base ramp has been completed today. The initial works at Springs Beach are looking very hopeful.
Yes, they are. They're looking very, very hopeful. And we may have even had some action this week, but it looks like it'll be at least next week.
And I'm hoping to be able to have a shower there next week too.
I can't promise that, but Stuart can.
Oh, Stuart can. Oh,
So
thank you very much.
If you can't, Stuart's offering to go down there with a
Oh, he's got a
watering
camp shower. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. The recommendation was moved by Councillor Tolhurst and it was seconded by Councillor Monahan. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 12, Health and Wellbeing. And this is a discussion about the Access and Inclusion Plan. Do we have a copy of Councillor Grigau's intended motion, since he's the officer? I'm sorry, but my machine froze, as you all know, and I'm not sure whether it's come up. Yeah, no, I've got it back now, but I didn't have it till 6 o'clock or 5. So the recommendation for the health and wellbeing item was that Council adopts the implementation plan for the Access and Inclusion Plan 2024 to 25 as presented in this report, and asks Council officers to undertake further work to determine the resources and approvals required for the installation, management and maintenance of beach matting to support access to a beach. Okay. Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Monahan. Are you suggesting an alternate motion? No. Yeah, read that out.
So Councillor Grigau's motion was...
It'll be yours. It'll be
my motion, right? Sorry, yep. The Council adopts the implementation plan for the Access and Inclusion Plan 2024-2025 as presented, and supports its delivery with the current Council staff resourcing for the Lived Experience Disability Reference Group. B, facilitates the installation of the beach access matting at a suitable location within the borough, ensuring it is accessible to the community by the second week of January 25. Funding for this initiative will include $10,000 from the Lived Experience Disability Reference Group Reserve and the balance from the General Reserve, with a total additional budget allocation of $10,000 from the General Reserve. C. Reviews the location and performance of the initial beach access matting installation to assess its effectiveness and identify any improvements needed for the 25-26 summer season. A report on this review is to be presented at the April 25 council meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that alternate motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Councillor Cameron?
Matting is. So this, oh, sorry. Oh, you turned it on, thank you. Just to explain behind the matting, it will then enable that wheelchairs, which can go in the water, will be actually able to go down, cross the sand and go into the water. So it's quite an exciting thing for us to be able to do. I've seen this in action at Lawn, where they actually have these mats so that the people, it now means that it is all ability accessible to be able to go into the beach and go for a swim in the water, because they have wheelchairs that actually go into the water. So this is what it's all about. At the moment, one has been proposed, but it has not been set in concrete yet. But due to, obviously, surfing conditions, at the moment, the one that has just been first raised and discussed is down at the, what do you call it, the front beach of Queenscliff. So, you know where the boardwalk is that goes down? To continue down from there. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Mayor,
Councillor Tolhurst.
just while we've got the item on the table, can I refer a question to the CEO on this item around if it's not tenable to deliver the development of the 4-year plan within current staff resources, the process that would follow to try and address that?
I think in the report we talked about that the first step would be to do a review of the officer resources in-house to see if there's resources there. If there's not resources there, then we would potentially come to council with a budget bid as part of next year's budget for an extra staff resource to support that project.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Are there any further questions, or is there any further discussion? That being the case, I'm seeking all those in favour of the revised motion. Thank you. Unanimously passed. We now move on to item 13. 13.1 is the Planning Permit Activity Report. The recommendation is that the Planning Permit Activity Report be received. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Monaghan, a seconder. Councillor Tolhurst. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 13.2 is the Coastal and Marine Management Plan. The recommendation, yes, Councillor Cameron.
I would like to move a new motion. I would like to move a motion that the council defers the draft Coastal and Marine Management Plan until briefings for councillors can be undertaken during the next 3 months to give us time to get a good grasp on what the Marine Coastal Management Plan is about. The Borough's strategic planner for land use, who played a major role in the development of the existing draft Coastal and Marine Management Plan, gave gave us councillors a briefing outlining the process of the CMMP prior to her departure from the borough.
Sorry, through you, Mayor.
Sorry.
Is this part of your motion?
Yes. All right, do we only want the little bit first?
We would like the motion and then potentially the discussion once it's moved and seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got
So-
excited.
To be clear, what was the motion? Sorry, Councillor Cameron.
That we defer the draft coastal marine management plan for 3 months.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Monaghan. Councillor Cameron, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'll go back to the beginning again. The Borough Strategic Planner for the Land Use, who played a major role in the development of the existing draft coastal marine management plan, gave us one briefing outlining the process of the CMMP prior to her departure from the borough. As a new council, we need to be fully briefed on all areas of this plan, including each of the listed precincts, with their specific needs and priorities, and the implementation plan with the overarching actions, deliverables, the timing of these deliverables, and the indicative cost and funding status for each of these actions. This is a significant strategic plan outlining the management of our coastal marine area, and as a new council, we need to be well informed to make this decision, and a deferment of this draft is necessary for us to accomplish that.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Monaghan, did you want... Would anybody
I wish
else?
to speak
Councillor
against the motion.
Tolhurst?
The borough manages an unusually large amount of Crown land and assets on them, and yes, indeed, we do have one of the smallest budgets in the state with which to do that. But I believe it's for this reason, in addition to the legislative requirements, community expectation, that we must have a CMMP, and a good one. It is the plan we need to better manage and plan for the spaces we love and have custodianship over. The development of the current CMMP presented in the papers tonight is the product of a long process, but an appropriately collaborative one with relevant agencies and important community stakeholders. I sat on the project steering committee for the last year and was satisfied and heartened by the thoroughness and collaborative nature of the process. This is the first CMMP we were set to adopt pending the outcome of the motion since 2006, and I believe we have waited long enough to do that. The plan in its current form is exciting for me because of its focus on partnership, using the many stakeholders involved in coastal Crown land management to work together to get the best outcome for community. No doubt the job is big, it is costly, and as a result the plan is too. But the document is dynamic, there is regular opportunity for review and revision, which again is a process that involves partners and community, and all this is a reality while the document still successfully serves as a visionary approach to coastal land management. DECA, the department in charge of or assisting in the adopting and signing off by it is the Minister's job wholly and solely to sign off, but DECA are the department we liaise with to assist in that process, and they have been on the journey with us and endorsed the plan. This is a really positive thing. I don't like the position deferring might put us in with those really critical stakeholders given the deep investment they've had in the current process, and I don't want our community to wait any longer. Sounds like I'm teary, I'm not, excuse the croaky voice, but I do feel strongly that we shouldn't wait any longer to have this critical document referred to the Minister. As such, I ask that councillors reconsider the position and endorse the CMMP as presented tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. There being no further discussion, I'd like to put Councillor Cameron's motion to the table. All those in favour? All those against? 3 to 1. Thank you. We now move on to item 13.3. And I've caught it. Sorry. I'd like to move a motion in Councillor Grigal's absence that this item be moved to the closed session of the meeting. Do I have a seconder to that? Thank you. Councillor Monahan. Would anybody like to speak against?
Yes, I wish to speak. I reject the notion that this item can't be debated in the public. It's of significant public interest and essential that the community hear our perspectives and the long-awaited outcome, or rather, step in the process to the long-awaited outcome. I appreciate that legal advice or certain documentation is legal and privileged, confidential and privileged, but the paper has been presented to the public and the argument can be debated on the merits presented. So the item, I believe there's sufficient information in the report already provided to the public and wish to have that for transparency's sake in the public domain.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Does anybody else have anything to offer on this subject? Thank you. That being the case, I ask all those in favour of the motion. 3. Those against? 1. Thank you. Moving to item 14. The quarterly financial report as at 30th September 2024. The recommendation is that Council notes the quarterly finance report to the 30th September 2024 and approves the following additional funding allocations. $100,000 to foreshore repair work needed due to storm damage using carry forward additional cash supplies. $100,000 for the Royal Park Oval upgrade, including initial design work for the sports facility and caravan park amenity renewal. This project was not included in the 24-25 budget, and the funds have been drawn from a specific reserve previously established for this purpose. And $30,000 from unused funds originally earmarked for the tree management system development to the Hesse Street Streetscape project to address additional funding requirements. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst.
Just a brief comment to thank Gihan and his team, as always, for the comprehensive nature of the reports, the thorough revision of the induction the new council group received, which really talked about the essential principles that will guide our considerations and judgment about financial sustainability and comfortability with material presented. So I'm really comfortable with where everything is, and thank you and your team for again presenting a report that shows council's budget and finances in good shape. Thank you.
I think the Mayor voted on that motion. You've got a conflict of interest.
The motion was about moving the item into closed, and so there's no conflict in that particular matter.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. All those in favour of accepting the recommendation motion? Thank you very much. Passed unanimously. Item 15, signing and sealing of documents. There are no reports to consider. Item 16, questions without notice. There are no questions without notice outstanding. Item 16.2, are there any questions without notice? Thank you. Item 17, list of council meetings. Do we have the need of a planning review meeting? I forgot to check.
Not at this point, but something may emerge.
All right, thank you. And the next ordinary meeting of council will be Wednesday the 29th of January at 6:30 p.m. Please note that's the new time for our meetings. Item 18, we now moved to the closed session of the meeting. I'd like to recommend that at 7:15 in accordance with section 66(1) and 66(2)A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to members of the public for the consideration of the following confidential items. I read them out? Yeah. One is the Queenscliff Town Hall office heating, ventilation, air conditioning contract 2411. And the second is the planning issue at McDonald's Road, as outlined in 13.3. Do I have a mover for that motion? Sorry, who was first? I moved it, sorry, I did, didn't I? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you.